Mail everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, welcome. Cantonese Cat here. I'm going to talk about my top 5 stocks, what I'm thinking. Palantir obviously has been a bull trend. This is the weekly chart. I'm going to zoom out here on the monthly. There's really nothing bearish about this chart. Last month simply closed out a little bit outside of the upper Bollinger Band. I think we're cooling off a little bit for the beginning of September, which is not anything surprising. And if you're looking at the overall time frame here on the Ichimoku cloud, you have the Tenkan, and the price has been riding up, the Tenkan on the way up. So really on the higher time frame, there's really nothing bearish about this chart. If anything, it's looking very, very bullish. But I do think that, if it cools off for the month of September, it's not the end of the world. Look at the weekly here. Now the question is it going to dip underneath 30? Is it going to end up going down further? There's always that possibility. I do think that 30 so far seemed to be a pretty decent number here in terms of holding. Right now, pre-market is $29.9. But I do think that 30 is a pretty important number because if you just do a Fibonacci extension or a Fibonacci retracement level, the golden ratio is 0.618, which is generally a pretty important number, and that's right now at 30. And right now, we're just basically forming a very, very nice bull flag right around $30. Could it go down further? It absolutely can. But so far, it looks like this level is holding, and we'll see. Like, it's going to probably take a lot of damage to the market because yesterday Nasdaq went down 3%, and Palantir also just only went down 3%. So usually, you think about a stock that has a lot higher beta, like Palantir, you imagine it would go down further, but it didn't. So we'll see how Palantir holds today, but I do think $30 is a good chance that it might hold. It could potentially go down further. I mean, it could go down to the diagonal line over here around 28, 27, 28, somewhere around there. I think that's also entirely possible. But it's interesting. Looks like Palantir likes to trade in a range of usually around like $5, which is what my friend A Trades Crypto has been saying. It really likes to trade within Fibonacci levels as well. So who knows? Maybe we've found a new floor right around like $29-30 over here at the Fibonacci level since we broke above it. And it could potentially just kind of hang around here. Maybe $30 is going to be a pretty decent area. Maybe it goes down to 27, 28. If you just also just look at a couple other indicators here, like Super Ichi, the Tenkan is right around 29, the Kijun is right around 27. If you're looking at the Ichimoku, you also have a couple of important support levels down here around 27 as well. And if you're also looking at the bullrun support band, let me pull that up here. You can see that the levels down here a little bit further around 25, 26, but you got plenty of support underneath below. So I would say that as it gets a little bit closer to 25, if it ever does that, it might just end up finding support at 30. But it ends up going to 25. I think that'll be a very, very good buying opportunity because there's just so much support underneath that I'm not really that bearish on it. If you're asking me in terms of what I think long term, based on the fact that there's a lot of catalysts coming for this company, including potential S&P 500 inclusion, which is going to bring in a lot more buying pressure over time, especially when it comes to the fact that this is the pure AI play, and this is a narrative cycle where AI is taking a very, very much of a front seat, especially given the balance sheet, especially given the cash flow, especially given the commercial growth this company has to offer, especially given the government contracts that they keep gaining. I really do think that most likely is going to keep riding up this channel. And I do think that eventually, I don't think it's going to hit these targets like in a year or anything like that. I think it might take another maybe 3-4 years or so to potentially hit the 1.618, which is around $70, or even the 2.618, which is around 108. I do think that whenever price gets up there, you can have like a multi-year cool down. And if it ends up especially if it ends up hitting that within like 2 or 3 years, you can probably end up having like a multi-year cool down for stock price to kind of do nothing, maybe for anywhere from like 3 to 5 years after that. But all of those are just speculation, right? I mean, we're not even really there yet. But I do see it potentially riding up the channel, and then once it gets up there, it'll probably end up visiting maybe the bottom of the channel here for a little while. And then we'll see what happens. But that's what I'm thinking about Palantir. That's my number one holding, by the way, number one exposure to the stock market. The other one that has been a little bit of a dilemma for the market has been NVIDIA. NVIDIA has not been doing very well over the last 2 weeks, even though it's been doing extremely well over the last 2 years, but everybody just kind of focused on what it's been doing over the last 2 months, especially the last 2 weeks. Looks like we're about to bounce at a V-shaped recovery, but nope, hit resistance, and we end up just going down further, correcting down further. So the idea is, where is support, right? Right now you're kind of hitting a little bit like a trend line over here, I suppose, and that's still something that we need to kind of push through to get over. I do think that there's a possibility where NVIDIA doesn't really do too much over the next couple months. I do think there's a possibility where it just kind of goes sideways and do nothing, which is not entirely scary for me. But if you're looking at the monthly chart, I think a very, very important thing to notice is that it's just been gone sideways for about like 3 or 4 months now. And I really do see, and I've talked about this a lot, I really do see this being very, very similar to where it was over here around August 2020 to March or April 2021, and also very similar area around December 2016 to April 2017. I don't think that this bull cycle is over yet. I still think it has another leg up. It might end up hitting maybe like 250, 300, 350, 400 even, but I don't think it's going to make another like 5 to 10x. I think that's going to be very, very tough for it to do. If you also looking at the Bollinger Band, I keep showing this thing over and over again. I have to just reiterate this over and over again. I look at the lower Bollinger Band. The lower Bollinger Band is starting to kind of contract here starting in June, right? And that really tells me, I think you're hitting a little bit of a trend exhaustion starting in June, which is when it starts to flatten out. The same thing happened over here around September 2020 and just flattened out for months. The same thing happened over here for NVIDIA around January 2017. And when that happens, it flattened for months, right? It went sideways for like 5 months. So I think we're at that part of the cycle where things are just consolidating sideways. You're getting a little bit of exhaustion of the bull trend. I do not think it's going to end up extending again. I think this is probably going to be a bit of a warning sign here that NVIDIA probably won't go any further than like 2 to 4x moving forward. But I think it's going to keep going. It might have another couple months sideways still before it does that. And that's not anything that's entirely bearish about it. If I have to put up some of the other important indicators to kind of take a look and see where we are on the monthly here, we're a little bit too far extended from the Tenkan of the blue line, and on a bull market it rides up the blue line, right? The Tenkan, right? As you can see, last time it got a little bit too far away. It went sideways for like 7 months, and the time over here it got a little bit too far away. Went sideways for 5 months. I think that's where we are in this cycle. I think we have already touched the Tenkan, so I'm not sure whether or not it has to come back down to like the 90s to touch it again. It could. If it does, and if it bounces, it leaves another wick over here, I think it'd be extremely bullish. I think it would really confirm that there's going to be some bullish continuation moving forward. But that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I think on the weekly time frame, there are some support where it's hitting. And again, this is just the second trading day of the week. So I can totally see it potentially just kind of closing above the kitchen over here, which is around 108. We end up closing around 108 from yesterday, but there's still 3 additional trading days going on, right? Right now, price end up going down a little bit below, but I do think that we're probably a little bit overextended to the downside here on the short term. So I do think that we might end up having, like a pretty decent, bounce back about, but who knows? Initially, I was hoping that I would hit the lower Bollinger Band, upper Bollinger Band, and hit the 20-day moving average, and for price to go up. Not if end up having a very, very brutal, like negative 10% day. But that's okay. Over a higher time frame, I still find this to be a pretty bullish chart, but it just has to kind of cool down and do its thing. On the weekly here, it's kind of hitting back the basis line here. You put the Bollinger support band, it's basically challenging the Bollinger support band. So I still think that this could potentially be a pretty decent upper Bollinger Band to the Bollinger support band or 20-week moving average. Figure out things over here before pushing up higher over time, but it's gonna take another like several weeks to maybe even a couple months for this to really kind of work out. So that's kind of what I'm seeing with NVIDIA. I'm still bullish on it, but I'm just not as crazy bullish as I was before, as understandably so, right? The other stock that I'm starting to have pretty decent exposure to is Tesla. If you look at the monthly for Tesla, there's really nothing too bearish about the way that it looks. I mean, if you look at it, it's just looked like so far as opening up another inside candle to this big giant green candle over here. If I pull up some of the other indicators, the 20-month moving average is still pointing up from last month, and currently price kind of dipped back underneath below, but we did close above the rising 20-month moving average. So I think that it's only been one trading day. This candle may not represent how the month is going to go. So far, it looks like it does want to dip down here a little bit further. But I do like the fact that it's kind of trying to reclaim the rising 20-month moving average. It's looking like a pretty decent setup here for the longer term. And even on the Ichimoku cloud, I mean, so far we closed the month of August inside the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud. We opened with 1 day of price action outside the Ichimoku cloud here again, but we still have plenty of support down here. The Tenkan and the Kijun. The Kijun is right now is around, let me see, 208.24. The Tenkan is underneath that is around 205. So it's giving plenty of support underneath below. I'm not really that scared by this chart. It could even break down below that, and I probably don't care because I think that it's really trying to set up for a trend change based on what I'm seeing here. And it can certainly dip down below, things like that. I really don't care. Tsubishi cloud is still above the cloud, stuck in a range between the Tenkan and Kijun. Could it go back down to like 206? Could it go down to even 200 to kind of back test some of this stuff over here before going up further? I think it's entirely possible. On the Ichimoku cloud is inside the Ichimoku cloud here. Could it go down to the bottom of the cloud here, or hit the Kijun down here at around 205, bottom of the cloud around 200? Entirely possible. Stuck in a range right now, right? It's just been consolidating sideways. I do think that it's flipped the Bull support band from resistance here to support. So these are very, very positive development for Tesla. I'm really not bearish on Tesla at all based on the market structure, based on the fact that you already have like a wick here, which is a higher high to that one over there. You already have a low over here, which is higher low compared to that one over there, which I think it's going to mean something moving forward. So if you ask me what I think my target for Tesla is, it's going to be a little bit, challenging. I can tell you that I can totally see it going to like 4 digits in about like 3-4 years or so. I can totally see that happening, which would be probably a little bit overshooting the 2.618 level over here. I do not think that's going to make another giant monster move like it did around 2020, 2021. That move was absolutely insane. I think it's probably going to end up maybe doing like a 4 to 5x over the next 3 to 4, even 5 years, which is not bad of a gain at all. And that's already going to be potentially outperforming the S&P 500 by a lot. So that's going to be my third stock. My fourth stock is Shopify. I'm seeing a movement where I can totally see that price can go down to the Ichimoku and the Tsubishi cloud, maybe down here to like the high to mid 60s or so, find support and then break through the cloud. I just don't think we're going to break through right away. We probably need to come back down and try to find support in the 60s before doing that here on the weekly. Same thing on the normal Ichimoku cloud. I think it's probably going to end up hitting the bottom of the cloud before going up further. Probably just need to find a little bit more support and build that energy to push through the resistance that we've had around like $76, which again is not anything bad to think about. Reclaiming the Bull support band, again, you could come back down and back test the Bull support band before going up further around the mid to high 60s. None of these things are bearish at all. If you're looking at a higher time frame, last month kind of looks weird here. I think this is an error on TradingView. But anyway, I totally see it kind of go down a little bit further and then go up and challenge the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud again. Hopefully it does a little bit better than over here back in February 2024, which went disaster, right? I mean, we basically priced plummeting all the way from the 90s to like the 50s. But I think we're about to be at it again. I think this time we're probably going to enter the cloud and probably going to have a little bit of shenanigans, and they're probably going to push for the cloud eventually. That's kind of what I'm seeing here with Shopify. I'm not bearish on this stock at all. If you are looking at the 20-month moving average, it's looking like it's reclaiming that, it's pushing up as support, and it's kind of squeezing here the Bollinger Band here a little bit because it's just been consolidating sideways here a little bit longer. And if the favoring move is going to be up because the 20-month moving average is pointing up, then you might end up actually having a pretty significant move over the next couple of years. That might surprise a lot of people for Shopify. If you ask me for like a longer term target, again, that's kind of hard for me to give you. I do think like around the next 3 to 5 years or so, it's probably going to re-challenge the previous all-time high here, which is going to be around like $170. I do think that is potential for it to hit like the 1.6 million extension around 270 or even 300. over the next like 3 to 5 years, which is again not a bad gain comparing to what has been happening, and also compared to what I expect from the overall stock market. Finally, I see SOFI. Now, SOFI, I was warning against being a little bit too bullish here short term, because I do think that I did draw this arrow down first and go up, right? I think there's going to be some support that has defined around like 7.5, maybe 7.3, somewhere underneath of that before really truly bumping up. But I do think that breakout over this bear market trend line means something, and this is like a true breakout where there's actually a weekly candle is close above the trend line. I think that means something, right? And if I turn off the I think it probably going to backtest the diagonal line over here, and also backtest the trend line over here. And there's also a lot of confluence over here too. On the short term, the Subichi Tenkin's around like 7.2, somewhere around there. And then if you're talking about the Ichimoku, is going to be having some confluence here. You might be having a bullish cross here soon, around like 7.15, 7.2, somewhere around there, right? And then you also have reclaimed the bonus support band, which is around 7.2, somewhere around there. So you could go down a little bit further, wick to like 7.2, 7.15, somewhere around there, find support and go up higher. And that would not be a bearish thing for this stock at all. Just looking at the 20-month moving average, we reclaimed it last month. So far, we only have 1 day of price action, and it kind of fell underneath of that, but that's no big deal. I still think the trend overall wants to kind of point up over time. So I am still relatively bullish when it comes to SoFi. I still think that good things are coming for it, but $8 is still going to be resistance. There's no doubt about that, right? $8 is going to be around the Kijun, the red line over here on the monthly. $8 is going to still be at the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud over here. So we're going to probably need some extra energy to try and push through. And we also had a hard time pushing through that area because the weekly Bollinger Band just hasn't expanded enough yet for price to go up. And we end up just basically getting rejected from the upper Bollinger Band, and right now we're back inside. The Bollinger Band is expanding a little bit. I think through time we'd be able to kind of break through, but that might take the rest of the year to really try to get higher. If we even have like hopes to get to like the double digits, I think it's probably going to take at least another couple months or so for the Bollinger Band to expand to allow that to happen. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here with SoFi. I'm not bearish on this at all. I mean, I just think that overall this is still been a very, very brutal consolidation, but I think that the breakout of this bear market trend line, I really do think that means something. And I still have the ultimate target up here around $14. I still think it's going to be a pretty strong resistance up here. And I think we're probably going to get there by like sometime in 2025 based on what I'm seeing here. So anyway, thank you so much for listening to me rambling on for my top 5 stocks here. Have a good one. Bye.